financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is taxes. So you owe your Uncle Sam? Brian Small. Uncle Brian.
Uncle Brian? Better to owe Uncle Brian than it is to owe Uncle Sam, I tell you that much.
I'm not 100% sure.
I guarantee you it's better to owe me than it is to owe Uncle Sam.
Better for you.
Better for me, and I don't put people in jail. Not yet.
Well, I don't think our Uncle Sam is. Jeffrey Linden, good morning.
Good morning. I don't think Uncle Sam puts that many people in jail, but, you know, on the positive side, you know, Uncle Sam is that, you know, you always have family because he's always around.
And even in the more reality side, I want to. Well, good morning, Jeffrey Kirshner.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you?
Good, but I'm a little troubled by Uncle Sam because he doesn't really treat me like he's an uncle.
Well, the two of you are both wearing purple today. Is there something that was there a memo?
Yeah, apparently you did not get it, and neither did Brian.
I'm wearing the proper colors.
So your uncle doesn't like you. You're saying uncles are all in family. You're saying better to owe Brian than it is to owe the government.
Absolutely.
I'm going to just kind of throw out there is better to owe the federal government than the state government. We'll ask Jeffrey about that in a few.
Because that's Aunt Sally, not Uncle Sam.
And I happen to know that there are several programs that Jeff has told me about that operate to allow you to deal with the taxes you owe on the federal level that are quite reasonable. And I'm not quite convinced that if I owed you $50,000 that you would allow me to pay you $500 or so on an offer in compromise, or that you'd allow me to pay you over 72 to 84 months at less than 3% interest.
You, sir, are correct.
So I have a feeling that I would rather owe Uncle Sam than Brian Small.
So we don't want Uncle Brian. Is that what we're trying to say?
Exactly.
Indeed.
And you don't want to borrow from him either.
Hey,
Okay.
wait, well, neither a borrower nor a lender be is an old expression.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, so the filing deadline has passed. You filed your return, or you're on extension till October, but this much you know. You owe taxes, and now it's time to figure out what are your alternatives when you owe the government money.
Can I move to an island in the South Pacific?
No.
You can. I can tell you one place that you don't want to move to, and that would be a territory operated by the Russian Federation, because you might get sanctioned.
I understand that. Unfortunately, I'm not an oligarch, and I don't have a yacht. So.
But if you went to a foreign jurisdiction that does not have a cooperation treaty on taxes, then when you're residing in a foreign country, the government is not able to enforce a claim against you for taxes. But that's a big step. Moving out.
I mean, there's something easier to do than that?
And you have to make sure you pick the right country. Yes.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about. Jeffrey, I hear the term in the trade, collection alternatives. Is that what you guys call this stuff?
Yeah, that's what we'll do for somebody that owes taxes. We'll seek a collection alternative. Alternative to what? Alternative to seizing your assets, alternative to liens.
And they actually use that as kind of a term of art, collection alternative, right?
Right.
Okay. And here are the ones that I know of. Offer and compromise, installment of payment agreement,
Yep.
CNC, currently not collectible.
Right.
Any other ones?
There's limited ones for penalty abatement in limited circumstances, but those are the principal ones.
Okay. Now let's talk about non-IRS alternatives.
These are my favorite.
Discharge income taxes in bankruptcy?
Absolutely, you can do that. People think that
Wait.
income taxes don't go away in bankruptcy, but they
I
do.
want to go to the second one. Become and maintain an uncollectible status.
more difficult to do, but also an opportunity that exists out there.
Okay, let's do the non-alternatives first that Brian gets excited about.
So,
Bankruptcy.
So bankruptcy discharges certain types of taxes. It discharges income taxes. It does not discharge trust fund taxes, which are
payroll
withholding taxes and payroll taxes.
Okay.
In order to get rid of an income tax, the tax had to come due at least 3 years ago. The tax returns had to have been filed for at least 2 years, and you had to have not been assessed in the last 8 months prior to filing the bankruptcy. Those are the general rules. There are a lot of little rules that have to be looked at too, but if we start with those 3 rules, 3 year, 2 year, 240 days.
I know, I remember Jeff talking about something to do with a substitute return problem. You guys were talking about it in a different show. How does that
Right.
play into this?
So a substitute return is if you don't file your return and you're a wage earner or an earner that people file W-2s or 1099s for you, the government knows that. And after some time, the government will file its own return for you, which will not be in your best interest. That's a substitute for return.
Not only is it not in your best interest, but a substitute for return is not considered a tax return for bankruptcy purposes, and it is never dischargeable in bankruptcy.
So takeaway. This is a potentially good option of getting rid of income taxes that most people don't know about, but you take yourself out of the option if you allow the government to file the return for you because of your neglect in filing your own return.
Correct.
The takeaway is if you haven't filed your returns and you're watching this show, you need to get them filed so that you will then potentially have this available to you.
Correct. And in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, if you met that 3 year, 2 year, 240 day rule, your taxes are gone at the end of the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. In a Chapter 13, you have to complete the structured plan of reorganization
Over 36
over
or
36 to 60 months, and at the end of that plan, your tax liability again is gone.
And so and what's interesting is this isn't what we call the collection alternative on the IRS side. So the people that only do that type of work don't even know that you could discharge taxes in bankruptcy. That's a simpler solution if it's available to you.
And not only is it a simpler solution, but most often, for certain types of people, it works better than an offer in compromise.
Let's take a break. We'll stay here. We'll come back to this.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Simasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Simasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Simasco Law.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So we talked about the bankruptcy. What about this idea of making yourself uncollectible?
Well, we can make you uncollectible both as to Visa, MasterCard, and quite often the IRS too. The concept is we utilize a strategy of corporate entities such as LLCs and things like that, and we form those corporate entities, and you work for yourself, you may work for your spouse, and so the income that you generate, the work you do, is for a company owned by your spouse. They just can't get to it.
But it works better when we're dealing with normal creditors because the government
Yes.
has more powers. And number one, first of all, if you're a wage earner, this doesn't work because
Nope.
they can garnish your wages.
Self-employed.
And number two, if you've got money sitting in this LLC, that's not going to work either. It'll work if you're self-employed and you're accumulating no savings. It's a way of shielding your income. But even then, there's drawbacks. Fair statement?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so it's not. This works well sometimes for us when we have non-tax debt that we want to take care of.
It actually
you know.
works exceedingly well when we're dealing with Visa and MasterCard and any other bank loan.
Or a bank loan on your business that defaulted, and for one reason or another, you're not a good candidate for bankruptcy.
100%.
Okay, let's shift to Jeff now. Let's do the IRS Collection Alternatives. The biggest one that we always hear about on TV, radio, so forth, is the offer in compromise.
The offer in compromise is great if you qualify for it. The offer in compromise is basically, it's a financial analysis. You can settle your debt for pennies on the dollar if you meet the criteria. And by looking at the criteria, it's a function of the math of your assets, the equity in your assets, what you make per month versus what you spend per month that the IRS considers acceptable.
All right, see, tell me if you agree with this quick summary of it. If you basically have no accumulated savings at all, no equity of significance in your house, and your income is compatible with your spending, so that all you're really making is enough to pay your ordinary necessary expenses in the government's idea, in that scenario, you're a great candidate for an offer in compromise.
Absolutely.
But wait, isn't it, he said no equity in your home. Isn't it really that you could even have up to like 20% equity in your home?
Yes and no. I mean, what the government gives you basically a 20% discount on assets, figuring that if they were to liquidate, force you to sell it, that you're not going to get full market value, and they peg that at 20%.
Yeah, but I just want people to understand that if you have 20%
Some
equity in
equity.
your home, you may still qualify for that
Absolutely.
offer.
So
It's a bigger pool of people than
But
people
if you
think.
have $300,000 in your 401k or your IRA, then in that case you could still qualify, but you better owe more than $300,000 in taxes, right?
Yeah, and you can still qualify with equity in your home. It's a function of how much, at that point it's a function of how much you owe, because the equity portion becomes the floor of what you're going to have to offer.
But that $300,000 makes for a very high offer and compromise, but because it's in a 401k or an IRA,
You could discharge
I
the
can
bankruptcy.
discharge the taxes in bankruptcy. So
And still keep the.
keep the
still keep the-
$300,000.
Right.
That's a great outcome. All right, so we talk about these. We hear on TV all these tax settlement firms. They you call up 1-800 tax save my life and so forth. What's your take on those?
Most of them, you're talking mostly to a commission salesperson on the phone. They're going to sell you an offer and compromise on the theory that I can save you pennies on the dollar, and they're going to charge you $6,000 to $8,000 up front to do it, and they're not going to know, and they're not going to tell you that you could not qualify for the offer. I can, in the first half an hour of talking with you in a brief conversation, know whether an offer is going to be something we should try or not. And I'm not going to bill you $8,000 to do that.
What's the reason why you always hear with these ads, they always promise it if you have $10,000 of debt or more? Why the floor of $10,000 typically?
Well, because if they're going to charge you $8,000 off the front to do an offer and you owe less and you only owe $6,000, why are you going to do it?
Same thing with the credit card company.
So if you have less than $10,000, these people won't then touch your claim at all?
No, and in practical matters, if you owe less than $10,000, it becomes difficult because of the time involved in working with the IRS to do it. There are other programs available, but the way their structure is, they're going to charge you the most expensive plan, and you owe less.
But recognize that $10,000 number, $8,000, for some people is as much as $1 million to other people. So,
Right.
But if you owe less than $10,000 in tax debt, there are still programs that are available for you that are cost effective to get into. Maybe it's an installment payment agreement.
Tell me about how do installment payments work? I want you to hit me on two quick ones. Installment payments, and what do we talk about when we say currently not collectible?
Well, installment payments are payment plans over a period of time. There's full pay installment payments and partial pay installment payments. Partial pay meaning you're not paying all of the debt. Full pay is you paying all that you owe.
How do you go about getting one?
You can get one if you meet the thresholds. If you can full pay the debt in 72 months, you can get an installment payment, and you can pay off all of your tax debt in 6 years. If you can't afford what that payment's going to be, then we can get you different kinds of installment payments based on your ability to pay or time.
And what do they mean by currently not collectible?
Currently not collectible means that when you do the financial analysis, you may have equity in your house, you may have assets, which they're not going to take from you necessarily, but you don't have enough cash flow to fund an installment payment, so you're not collectible for now.
So what do?
They leave you alone for 18 months to 2 years, and every 18 months to 2 years, they're going to do a reassessment of your financial status to see if you can pay.
Quick question. Procedurally, how do you know when you have to deal with the problem when you're getting all these notices from IRS? What's the big trigger point?
The first notice.
How about open your mail? Yeah, open your mail.
Open your mail. Your emergency happens when you get certified mail. You can get all these notices. They're going to tell you by the time you get a certified mail, you're typically going to have 30 days to respond or bad things are going to happen.
That's what I want to say. And in that case, you respond by requesting a collection due process hearing?
Yes.
So the takeaway, if you're watching and listening, is if you get the certified letter, number one, pick it up. Not picking it up doesn't stop the clock from running. And the 30 days you need to get in, we need to file for a collection due process hearing, and then we can get you a payment plan or put you into an offer and compromise and take action before they start levying on your assets.
Correct.
Let's take a break and we'll do a case study.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, "We'll get through this, we'll get through this."
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Time for announcements. So I remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Live seminars are back. Wednesday, May 18th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., Estate Planning 101, the absolute essentials. Be sure and join us. We're going to cover the basic elements of an estate plan, documents you need while living. We're going to make sure your assets go where you want them to go, and how to avoid the cost of probate, and what you need to know about probate. Attendees receive a $300 gold certificate off the cost of an estate plan. Sign up thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call. It's 888-235-HELP. Then on Wednesday, June 8th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., how to make debt a thing of the past. We'll go to all the methods we use to eliminate debt so that you can try and keep pace with your debt to actually save money for your future. Well, the whole goal is so you have something to retire with when that time comes. Debt elimination is a key part of that process. We're going to have a special segment with Jeff Linden on how to resolve tax issues. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Sign up for that one the same way, thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. Just call our offices, 888-235-HELP, or go online, and there's boxes to click to sign up for a free consultation. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat or Jim Samasco, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Also, go online, check out the free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by myself and Jeff Linden. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, before we get into Alan Betty's case study, I just kind of want to summarize a little bit of what we were talking about before on this collection due process hearing. What's good, what you need to realize is it's a good process. You have 30 days to ask for a CDP hearing, and then it goes to an appeal process at IRS, which is a higher level, and it's much easier to get a good deal there than it is oftentimes when you're dealing with a collection officer at the base level of IRS. They're more geared towards getting your money and not telling you necessarily what options and alternatives you have. Now, none of this is something you can do. I'm just going to be straight out with you. You should know us. You can't do this on your own. If you try and do it on your own, you're going to screw it up. And the best reason why you can't do it on your own is you can't do it on your own because if somebody asks you where your bank account is, you can't say, I don't know where my bank account is. If somebody asks you how much money do you have in the bank, you can't say, I don't know how much money I have in the bank. If they ask Jeff where the bank account is, he can say, I don't know, I'll find out and get back to you, and then you just don't answer the question and you move on and you make your deal.
I have one question.
So,
does he have to do it like this?
It helps.
So-
but usually you're on the phone, so they
Yeah,
can't
it
tell.
doesn't
So
help much,
plausible
obviously.
deniability is a good defense.
Absolutely. All right, Al and Betty, they owe taxes for 2011 to 2016, $100 grand. Al is now disabled, fell off a ladder, he's injured. He's already come to Jeff Kirshner for help. You're working on getting him disability.
Yes, I am.
It's going to take a while, though, but he's never going to work again, I promise
Yeah, so it's actually kind of nice because as time has gone on, the backlog has freed up a little bit. So actually, a couple of years ago, you asked me how long the process could take from the beginning. If you always have to go to a hearing, could take 2-ish years, 2.5 years. Now the process is down to a year, maybe a year and a half from your initial application all the way to the time you actually have a hearing. They have cut down the time for a claim.
you. That's good. That is good news. All right, rest of the facts. Okay, total income before was $100,000 a year. Current income, Betty's making $25,000. They have limited equity in their home, $40,000 in their IRA. They've got credit card debt, tax debt. What do they do about their taxes? What do they do about their credit card? And Jeff's handling the disability.
Under these cases, this situation, they'd qualify for an installment agreement, probably not collectible status, and they'd qualify for an offer in compromise, but their offer in compromise would be high because of the amount of money in their IRA. Under this circumstance, their better option is a bankruptcy.
Yep, 100%. They should file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, get to keep the $40,000 in their IRA, keep the equity in their home, and eliminate their tax debt because all of their tax debt is for years that is otherwise dischargeable.
What about their credit card debt?
Their credit card debt will go away too.
All right, so let me ask you two important questions, Brian, because I'm happen to be Al. What about my credit score? Number one. And number two, well, what about my credit score?
Credit scores heal, credit scores get better, and the fact is which would you rather do? Write a check for $40,000 to the IRS, which is your IRA, to get rid of your tax debt, still be stuck with your credit card debt to keep your credit score, which is terrible because you can't afford to pay your credit cards in the first place, or would you rather keep your $40,000, get rid of all of the debt, and then your credit score will get better?
All right, I'm good with you on that. I'd rather keep the money, okay? But will I be able to get a credit card again? How am I going to, if, I'm disabled, about the only thing we can do is maybe travel a little bit in the car.
Are you breathing?
And yeah, I'm breathing.
Okay, if you're breathing and you bring home...
But how do I get a hotel reservation? I need a credit card.
Okay, you can get a credit card in multiple ways, but most people can get a credit card within 6 months of filing their bankruptcy, period. They'll just get offers in the mail. If not, you can get yourself a secured credit card where you put down, let's say, $500 down.
Or even I could put $5,000 down if you're saving me
and
the
you'll get
$40,000
and you'll get a $5,000 line of credit. After a year, they usually raise your credit line and some of them even allow you to take back your deposit.
Here's the point. Goes
Make
back
it
to
fast. We got 20 seconds.
An earlier question that you said, these other companies are going to sell you an offer in compromise tax resolution. They don't have the ability or the knowledge to know that bankruptcy is your faster, cheaper, and better option. That's where we come in because of our team approach.
Absolutely. That's a wrap. Jeff, always good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Jeff, always good to see you. Jeff in purple. Jeff in purple. Brian.
Brian.
I'm never going to borrow money from you. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with On Reality.